See if it's cold inside the computer world. Oh, no, here we're live. Hi, everybody. And for my audience, I realize this is earlier in the morning than we ever meet because this is the middle of the night for me. But because of Mary, who's such an exceptional person and such an exceptional shaman, I wanted to accommodate her. And she has like a real family with kids and everything, and a life that goes on. So she has to do things at certain times.
Yes.
If you like to introduce yourself, Mary, to my audience that doesn't know who you are.
Hey, everybody. I am Mary Callazo, and I'm the teacher and founder at Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center. So over where we are is on the East Coast, and that's why it's a little earlier than Nancy Jean anyways. But yeah, I'm an early bird, that morning ray of sunshine.
Yes.
We got on it. Her face was like,
well, I'm not. This is like, trust me. I have my meds when I take my blood pressure and check my oxygen and do all this. That's set for 9 o'clock in the morning.
mm-hmm.
But I had to get up and do it at 8. So
I super appreciate you accommodating. I really.
No, that's okay. And I really wanted Mary to be part of this because Mary is a ray of sunshine in a world of sometimes grumpy readers, let me tell you.
The grumpy readers. Yes, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to meet all of you guys fresh out of bed with your sleepy heads so you can have a joyful day on this cold, rainy morning.
We're all, well, it's at least where I am is not raining. It's just going to be very cold. And I know other people are buried in snow. I was working with Scott from Wisconsin yesterday, and he said, I have to go dig out the drive again. It snowed another 4 inches.
Wow.
I remember growing up in 4 inches and 6 inches and more of snow.
Not me. I'm a Florida girl originally, so I remember one snow in Florida when I was a kid, and other than that, I don't like it. It's too cold, It's too wet.
It's too cold, it's too wet. It drove me out of Illinois. I had the weekend you had to decide if you wanted to take early acceptance at university. We had a blizzard. I mean, a true blizzard, like I'm not just exaggerating. And the way my parents' house was built, it was built into the side of a hill. And the way the wind blew, it drifted up against both the front and back doors. So you couldn't get out. So we had to go to the porch, the porch that was on the front of the house, drop down, trudge around with snow shovels and dig out the front doors.
Oh, wow.
So I was digging out my front door, and I was thinking about the schools I was thinking about going to. And there was one in Indiana, one was Wellesley in the East Coast. And I knew it was cold there. And then Texas. And I went, I bet you if I moved to Texas, I'll never have to dig out another front door. That may have been my first great psychic prediction because I have never dug out a front door in Texas. But of course, no one warned me about the fact it gets to be 106 outside. So we all pick our poison.
I like that.
Anyway, we're here to interview Mary, who just shows up and says, what are we doing? Oh, we're getting an interview. I have 20 questions, and I'm asking them of all the readers that are taking part in the psychic profiles. And your first question is, when did you first realize you might have psychic abilities?
When I must have been 3.
Okay.
I think that's when that started. And because back in at that time, I used to see visions while wide awake. You know, there were times, good and bad. I would see. There was one time I rolled off the bed and I was caught in midair by an angel, or how I perceived as being an angel, and rolled me back on. So I would see little things like that. But then also I would see darker things, or even just neutral things that would scare a child. You know, I saw things that looked like leprechauns, things that looked like werewolves, things that looked like giant mountains. So there was a definite vision, and like I would hear footsteps running behind me. And at that young age, it's not made up. You know, my dad would put oil on the doors because he didn't know what to do with me, you know, so he thought if he just anointed everything would stop, and it didn't. So it started at a pretty young age. And then I think, like a lot of us, those clairs kind of shut down for a while so we can go through our karmic journeys and our wounding and learn our path, and then learn how to reopen those into awakening our destiny or who we're going to be in the future.
Very good. Did you have a single aha moment when you knew you had to go do this, or just gradually built over time?
You know what? I'm going to say there was an aha moment. I was raised, of course, we're all deep Southern, right? So I've got family in Alabama, Texas, Arkansas. I was raised over on the East Coast, born in Florida, but my family was very much steeped in the Bible Belt. So there was a lot of verbiage and certain things that I grew up with. And I do remember, I think I was probably about 8. I don't remember my exact age. I was laying in bed. I couldn't sleep. I was staring at the night lights at my grandparents' house in Alabama. And I heard the words with my clairaudience, "You will be a missionary." And I was like, no, thanks. And I cried. I don't want to do that, because being raised in the Bible Belt, that means a certain thing, right? It means you're going to go to other countries and preach the Bible. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. So getting older and going through the spiritual journey rather than a religious journey, I realized that I ended up doing the same thing, but with completely different terms. Like, this is what we're doing. We're getting on an international platform and talking to people about their inner awakening. So I think the rest of it was gradual, getting to where we are. But in the beginning, I would say that that's the definite beginning point of that, for sure.
Very good. Okay. How did people around you react when you shared your experiences? I know your dad apparently put a lot of oil on the doors, but
yes. When I was younger, I think it was kind of played off as I was just having a lot of dreams, and you kind of have to know a lot about my family, I think, to understand all of it. And it's because my mother passed when I was very young.
Okay.
She was a seer. She had prophetic dreams. And so without connection to her or her side of the family, there was a disconnect with my own gifts.
Right.
And when I would share my gifts, it was, oh, you're just dreaming, or that's not real, or you're very imaginative. Until the reawakening when I got older. And that goes both ways. Some people think it's of the devil, and some people think it's really cool and think that it's like just something to a sideshow, you know, kind of thing. And then some people really respect it and use that. So it's a pretty mixed bag where I am, which is fine.
That's fine. I mean, and I think one of the things you talked about is I grew up in the North. I grew up in a very Catholic community. I wasn't Catholic, but when you grow up in a very Catholic community, you're almost Catholic, whether you like it or not. And I had friends who had awful stories about nuns and things, and people telling them they couldn't do so. Some of the first people who told me I was gifted and that I could see were nuns.
Beautiful.
And, you know, it's kind of depends on how they view it. And my mom, her mother was off the boat Irish, you know, and came over in the potato famine. And, you know, you kind of learn from those things. And she used to say that her whole family in Ireland was full of the gift, you know, and so when I came along, my mom wasn't crazy about it. She said, oh, they're going to think you're like those weird Italian women on the other side of the river. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll go over there. Their food's better anyway. But yeah, it's, you know, when I came down south, I found out that it was the Baptist church that was the nemesis, basically, or the Bible churches were the nemesis. And I was never quiet. I mean, I've been loud since I was a kid. So
she said, I've always. That's how I like this. I think the Pentecostals in Florida were more open to spiritual gifts than the Baptists within the family. But you learn to pull on other parts of your family.
Right.
If you can, on my grandmother's side, further up, there was stories of having a Native American great-great-great-grandmother who used to read coffee grounds and tea leaves and things like that, herbs. That cannot be confirmed nor denied genetically, but those were stories that I grew up with. Those were little pieces of hope I could hold to, that this is something good, something I can use, and something.
I just didn't fall off the turnip truck unbeknownst.
Right. Right.
Did you seek training or did you explore your own path?
Both. And I'm the type of person who I think that I really long for training. I try to train as much as possible. I've spent years training in certain lineages of shamanism. I trained in druidry, and I still have years left in that. I've trained in all kinds of different arenas. So anytime I like to listen to myself first. If I have a spark or an interest that shows me that I have some sort of passion, light code, or gift towards that thing. So then I try to find a teacher, someone who already knows about that thing. And sometimes Spirit grants me that teacher and says, here, train, learn about honor and lineage and ceremony, and do this in this way, and then grow it on your own. And sometimes Spirit says, nope, I want you to grow this completely on your own. I don't want any outside influence. I just want to download it in. So it kind of goes both ways. But either way, I have found to be true of myself that while I often long for formal training and offer formal training, Spirit only ever gives me a certain amount of formal training. Right. And then I'm meant to do my own thing with it and just be me with it.
Yeah. I think that's important for people to understand. I know people who get caught up in the training cycle. Oh, yeah. I need the next class to get. The same thing happens in academics. They don't trust what their own instincts tell them. Which specific tools that were part of your early practice have held on and you're still using?
A couple things come to mind. One from early childhood and one from my first-ish formal trainings. The one from childhood that is still holding on, and it might not be specifically a tool, but it's angel frequencies. I told you in the young years, the first things that I saw were angels and then just other beings. And I kind of moved away from all of that for a long time. And then it came back because a lot of my visitations, telling me where to go next or different prophecies, a lot of my visitations come from angelic beings. And I work extremely closely with Archangel Uriel to bring in wisdom and knowledge. So I think that is a tool that I've really held on to. The second thing I want to say is something around my mesa from my shamanic training. You make this portable altar and you have all of your kuyas, or you have spirit allies, you have crystals encoded with your allies, and it holds your extra energy. So you can call on that when you need it and have allies when you need it. And while there's a lot of shamanic tools from my original training that I don't find necessary anymore, they just become trappings, right? That you wear to say I'm a shaman, right? But so there's a lot of those that I don't necessarily use anymore, but I still have my altar and I still have my spirit allies. And I think that those energies are really important to honor and to sit with on a regular basis.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, and did you have many mentors or teachers?
I've had a handful. Yeah. So when you do as many trainings as what is available to us nowadays, because you can get online and take a 4 or 6 hour training on any modality that you think of. So in that respect, I've had a lot of teachers. There are main teachers who I think are sent to us. And so far I've had, I want to say like 3 of those who are just main big influences who I train with for multiple years at a time. What was the original question? Do I have them?
It's did you have? So we're just trying to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So and with these teachers, I like to think that you never outgrow your teachers, because teachers keep growing too. That's like saying one day I'll be as old as my big brother, and you never, even when you reach the same age your big brother was when you said that. But there are times when you move away from those teachers to do your own thing, to be yourself, to create your own platforms. So I have had the honor of having a couple of really amazing teachers who still have an influence on my life from time to time, and who I just love and honor and cherish very deeply for the role that they played. Absolutely.
What's the best advice they ever gave you? Pick one or two of them.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I don't even know where to start with that. My mind is like blank. I have no idea. Honestly, I think that the biggest thing that I learned from my teachers is respect. That's not anything that they said, but you learn when working closely with teachers, you know, because you have to learn things their way and take what they say to be fact. Then learn how it works for you, and whether you really believe certain things or whether certain things resonate for you. But keeping that honor and respect of tradition and lineage as you're being taught is super important. And even after you're being taught, learning how to step away from teachers to do your own thing without having to find something wrong with your teacher.
Right.
Important, because that's the thing people do. They think, oh, well, I'm not supposed to work with this person anymore. And so their ego creates a fight. Well, they're this or they're that, or they won't let me do this. And that's not real.
That's our teenage rebellion.
Yeah, you don't have to pick a fight to just do your own thing and to be who you are, while still honoring and respecting that lineage and those beliefs and where they came from. So I really strongly feel that honor and respect is the biggest thing I learned from all of my teachers.
Yeah, I remember when I was first doing crystal grids, I had people saying, oh, I think I know how to do this. And they'd send me the most beautiful pictures of the grids they made out of stuff, you know, that they had where they were. They didn't see it the same way. And I thought that was great. I loved it, you know, to see people take an idea you had and then grow it in another direction, because we never see everything the same.
It's beautiful. It really, really is.
How did you learn to tell the difference between your psychic impressions and your imagination?
That's a hard one. And I think that's a hard one because my main Clair is not claircognizance. I think that's a bigger issue with people who have claircognizance, because they don't know how to separate their own thoughts from the thoughts that they just know. I think. Whereas most of my intuition comes in from clairvoyance, and then I have to open my other clairs. But let me dig deeper into that question, because it still is valid. It still works. So that would be like me having to decipher then between a dream that I've had that could be prophetic, or a dream that's just my mind taking the junk out. And I learned how to dig into that further by just sitting with my feelings. So when one Clair reaches its max, switch to another Clair, essentially. Because I can have dreams about one thing and one person. And if I were to just hold to that, I would wake up the next day and think, oh, well, this person, there's something wrong with this person, right? But I learned to sit with it the next morning, being quiet, not focusing on the dream itself, but how I feel after the dream and the thoughts that I'm telling myself after the dream. And that's really what the dream is trying to bring up in me. It's trying to process something. And so quite often I find that these are just dreams trying to help me process things out of my energy.
Information.
And then sometimes it's like no, this is important. This is a message. This is a vision. This is a word. This is a teaching. And so paying attention to the after waves in my body and switching between the clairs has really helped me be able to journal that stuff out and put it out there.
Someone who just woke up and is probably out of my crowd somehow said it is 8:49 Central Time. It's 9:49 Eastern Time. So keep going. It's an hour less each way. So I saw one person who's tuned in that's from the that's from the West Coast. Thank you, Christy, for getting up and joining us.
Hi.
You talked about Claire's. A lot of people have talked about this, and I'm just going to. Can you explain Claire's just quickly to people who may not be aware of what that word means?
Absolutely. I like to call Clairs our shadow senses. We
Mm-hmm.
have our 3D light senses, and it's light because we can see them and feel them and know that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, how you see and how you touch and how you smell and how you taste and how you hear. But then the clairs are what I call shadow senses. They're the senses behind the scenes. So it's the vision you have without your physical eyes. It's the smells you smell inside of yourself. It's the things you hear in your mind. It's the things you can feel and sense inside of your body. So that's how I kind of see the clairs. It's the senses that we're all born with on a metaphysical plane rather than the 3D plane. And I think that they work together as friends and co-facilitators to help us navigate the world, because we're not just physical beings, but we are physical beings, and we're not just spirit while we're in this earth plane. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that we need both working together simultaneously to be able to really navigate where we are accurately. Things aren't always what they seem. We have to learn how to read between the lines of what people are saying.
Yeah, I I I don't. I'm claircognizant, so that's kind of mostly what I work with. But one time, I was at the antique store, and I kept smelling this perfume that I remembered from when I was a child.
Mm.
And I remember my mother. My mother was a society lady, and she would have these parties where people would come at Christmas. And I remember these women. I remember carrying their fur coats upstairs to the bedroom where we kept them. And I grew up where it was very cold, and we put their fur, and I remember this perfume would be all over the fur coat, be all over these ladies that were hugging me. It wasn't Chanel number 5, but it was something like that. And I'm sitting in the store and I could smell that perfume, and I was like, is it coming? It's a vintage store. They could have gotten something in that had it all over. So I kept asking everybody else, "Are you smelling anything like this?" And they're all going, "No." Oh, and it came to pass that we had gotten in a whole set of clothing from an older woman who would have been in that society era with my mother. She'd passed, and we'd gotten a bunch of her clothing. And it had all been dry cleaned and cleaned up, and you could go up and stand next to it, you wouldn't smell it, but you could smell her perfume. And so finally, I don't see earthbound spirits. So I called my daughter, who does, and said, "Can you come down here and look around?" And she goes, "Oh, it's the older woman standing in the back corner. She's watching her stuff."
Oh, wow.
And that's when I learned, listen when you, and so I would come in till we sold most of her stuff. I would come in and say good morning to her because she was hanging out there watching her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting. I love
that's
that
what.
story.
So when you learn about clairs, you learn a lot about, and there's clairs that are food, and there's a lot of people have cigarette smoke or pipe smoke. If they have someone, that's when they'll get that's sensory. Anyway, back to your interview. Have there been some moments where you really doubted yourself?
I mean, absolutely. I think everyone goes through that. But at this stage of my development, what I call that is ego death.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm the type of person who I go through cycles and I get inspired, and then I build, create, heal, do all the things I need to do. And then randomly one day in the middle of the night, I will wake up and it's like the world is crashing down on me and I have no idea who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing there. And I just want to quit everything, right?
Yeah.
Like once or
Yeah.
twice a year, this happens. And I realized that this is the ego death,
Mm-hmm.
that everything strips away and all of the imprints on our energy field disappear for 1 to 3 days, so that when we re-imprint ourselves, we can take on new timelines or new objectives, or we just kind of level up as a person in general. So I think that self-doubt is one of those things where you have to learn how to overcome the initial fear
Right.
Push yourself into those expansive spaces. But once you're in the expansive spaces, once the self-doubt comes back, most of the time it's just an ego check. And we're wondering where we're going to go next. So if you always push, that's my advice, always push past the fear. Always. If you're afraid of something, do it. If you're not afraid of it, who cares? Do it or don't do it. But if you're afraid of it, definitely do it, because that's going to push you into that space you need to be in.
Yeah, fear just limits us.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you handle skepticism from yourself and others?
I don't have very much tolerance for it, if I'm being honest.
That's fine. That's how you handle it.
I just don't. I think someone called me on the phone one time and they were wanting to come to my shop and wanting the services, and they said, but they tested me. They said, but just so I know you're real, like, what's the name of the street sign I'm sitting under, so I know you're a real psychic? And I said, ma'am, I'm not playing your games. And I hung up. Like, I have zero tolerance for it, really. If you have a longing for something, you feel yourself drawn to the healer, to the teacher, to the person who can help you, your skepticism is your fear, not the other person's to have to take on. So don't come at me with it. It's not my problem. It's yours. Like, that's how I feel about skepticism. So when someone comes to me like that, it irritates me sometimes, just because I feel like it's a waste of my time. Like, if you're here, you're probably drawn here. So let yourself relax. Let yourself be here, just go with the flow a little bit. But I'm not like that with, like, my students or things like that, because obviously students and clients sometimes reach a space of opening where they're like, okay, this is more than I expected. I'm not sure if I can believe this right now, or let myself go there. And of course, I'm very gentle there, because I think that's normal to eventually reach something that you didn't expect to reach. When we're doing healing, we have to move beyond our wildest expectations to really reach the things that we want. And so then I think it's just a matter of being patient and gentle with yourself until you're ready to take that step.
Yeah, I think it's really important right now, because so many people are waking up that were not awake before. And all of a sudden, they're in this world and we say words and do things just because we've been around it for so long, and they're kind of like strangers in a strange land trying to figure out what's this that they're talking about. So I always try to be kind about it. But if somebody's really just playing games, I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Exactly. Yeah, I went full bipolar on my answer. Sorry about that. But it's very intolerant of certain behaviors, but extremely gentle and patient. I think everyone should be very gentle with themselves on their journey, because it's a whole life journey.
And you should be skeptical. I mean, just because someone says they're doing something doesn't mean they're doing it. And
discernment.
And when you're in the middle of trying to figure out all these things that are waking up around you, it's kind of
discernment is very important. Absolutely. Yeah.
And have your abilities gone through weak and strong phases? You talked a little bit about that, about you have. So we've covered that one. And how do you protect your own energy?
There's a lot of different ways. I protect it by keeping it cleansed. So before and after YouTube videos, before and after student meetings, before and after sessions, I do my smokes. You can do Palo Santo sage. I do Florida water or blessed holy water. I make sure that my angels are with me. Sometimes I have little talismans, like I have my ring and I have my Archangel Uriel sigil that I wear. I do heightened energy, so I visualize white light coming through everything. The biggest things I think you can use, besides all of these little things to help clear, so that's all clearing stuff essentially, is your healing work. I think your personal healing work keeps your vibration high enough that when things come and go, they can kind of bounce out or move off, rather than you feeling attacked and like they're trying to get in. From our own negativity and low vibrations. So just doing the inner work And then I'd add a third thing to that as well, which is caring for the physical body. If you have a low vibration in your physical body, it's going to be that much harder to have a high vibration in your energetic body. So every so often I go through, like today, I'm on the third day of a juice cleanse, because every now and then you have to kind of break the cycle between the gut and the minds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get rid of all of the things influencing you. People don't really realize how influenced they are by sugars or by caffeine or things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I'm not saying don't eat them. I love sugar. I'm a chocolate gal. I'm a wine gal. I'm a decadent kind of person. Give me the triple cheeseburger because that's
Mm-hmm.
what I want. But I know every so often I also need to break that, do a cleanse, take care of my body in order to, because that's my foundation to keep
Right.
everything else high vibrating.
Okay. And do you have any go-to rituals on a daily basis?
I really am a fan of chanting. I really like kind of repetitive prayers like that,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like they're a type of mindfulness meditation that you don't have to sit and think about. But if you think about something else, then you mess up your chant. So it
Mm-hmm.
keeps your mind very blank and it allows your energy to raise high. So I really like sitting at my altar, doing mindfulness meditations, doing different chants. I have a few Indian chants that I do, but I also like to pray the rosary. So there's any type of little mindfulness thing like that. I really enjoy those and think that they work very well.
Good. Okay. Uh, did you now? Do you think psychic abilities are innate, or can anyone develop them?
I think that psychic abilities are innate. And that's because I subscribe to light codes. Like I believe in light codes. That's how I visualize the blueprint on top of our
Mm-hmm.
energy field. I think that we're all born with different gifts in each life, and it
Mm-hmm.
changes each life. So the gifts I had in my last life, I don't have in this one, but I have gifts in this one I won't have in my next one, because we're meant to experience and do different things. So yeah, I believe that they are innate. I believe that I think we all have clairs. I'm going to put that out there. I think all of us have all of the clairs because those
Mm-hmm.
are the shadow side to our regular senses. So you might have to work harder to open up or use or strengthen, I think is a better
Mm-hmm.
word. Strengthen certain clairs because you might have main clairs, but other gifts such as channeling, weather working, those sorts of things. I think these are things that might be different gifts in each life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do how has your work changed your worldview or beliefs about life and death?
That's a good question. And what came to my mind was something kind of different. So I was trying to correlate the answers for you. I have always been the type of person who romanticized death. And I don't mean romanticized as in like I wanted to die. I mean romanticized as in like a movie scene. Like when I was 7 years old, I knew exactly which classical song was going to play when my body came out into
Mm-hmm.
the funeral. You know, like it
Mm-hmm.
was something that felt important and romantic. And I know that's very macabre, but now in my work, I realize that that's because that is a sacred portal between the crone, the woman of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
the other side. This is the veil walker, right? And
Mm-hmm.
one of my big gifts is walking between veils. And so I understand now why that has it's helped me understand the romanticism in that for myself and why moving beyond the veil is such a sacred honor in life through our gifts and in death.
Okay. And then, because as a child, I did not romanticize death. I was absolutely terrified of it. So,
Oh.
I didn't get nice classical music. I learned to understand it sort of doesn't exist the way I was told it was.
Well, what came to me though when you asked was that I used to be afraid of the moon. when I was little, being out in the night under the moon terrified me. It wasn't death that terrified me, it was the moon.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was the moon. And so doing this work has actually helped me have a whole new relationship with that, because the moon is our feminine nature. It's our shadow sides. It always just made me feel lost when I was little. But as I created this relationship with my inner mother, with my inner maiden, with my inner crone, with my feminine nature, with my darkness within, now I have a beautiful relationship with the moon, and I don't feel so lost under the night sky anymore. I just kind of feel cold or wild or sleepy, whichever one is normal.
Okay. Your moon was sort of like my death. So we
Yeah.
all have those things. We all have those shadowy meanings in our life. What is the most powerful reading that you, or one of the more powerful readings you've done? And can you explain it in such a way to not sell someone's secrets out, but how you got into it, what happened from the reading, however you want to view it being powerful.
So one of the more powerful, I'm going to say this without getting into it deeply, because all readings can be very powerful for people individually. But there was one reading that I had with someone in particular where, for whatever reason, while I was reading her, I saw an apocalyptic vision. And it is a prophecy. And I receive a lot of prophecies. I receive a lot of future visions for people specifically as pertaining to their personal timeline. But this is a prophecy that I've been given that's like 15, 17 years in the making. And I'm seeing a lot of it play out in the politics right now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to go super into it, because I'm actually going to record that video today and have that one going up sometime in December. So people will be able to hear what that prophecy is. But that one's been very powerful in my personal roles and things that I need to do, in how we shine the light over the world, how we fight for world peace. That one's been a really big one.
Okay. So if people wanted to see you or wanted to follow you, how would they reach you?
So on YouTube, we're at Earth and Star Wellness. So that's EarthAndStarWellness, Earth and Star Wellness. That's on YouTube, but also our website is earthandstarwellness.com.
Okay. I forgot to put that in my notes this morning, so I'm going to fix it for you now so you can scroll across the bottom. Good, because if you're going to have a show like that, people listening to this are going to want to go find that.
Yeah, it's important. So I've been sitting with it, and I've actually been sitting on that prophecy for almost a year now, and haven't put it out there because I didn't feel like it was time. I felt like people were too afraid with the things that were going on, but it just feels like it's time now, and it keeps coming up. So I'm gonna record this right after this and put it out in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, there's her Earth and Star Wellness.
Thank you.
YouTube and her site. Okay, and then how do you deliver sensitive messages? If you're getting a message from someone and it's really, really sensitive, do you have sort of a way you filter it out and sort it out before you go into it with someone?
Like in a personal session?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes I argue with the guides. I'm like, are you sure you want me to say that? Like, I don't want to say that. But if I'm really being pushed, one, I kind of just give a disclaimer. Like, okay, so this is something that's coming through. Just let them know. I try to be as gentle as possible when I give sensitive messages. But at the same time, I try to stick with the facts, because I find what makes a sensitive message worse is when I try to interpret it and then put my own spin on it because I think it'll make it better for them. So I try to just say, give them the disclaimer. This is what's coming through. It's a sensitive message. Do you want to hear it? Yes. Then this is the exact message that came through, and let them kind of sit with it. But then I can be a nurturer to help them process and to sit with them while they process that message and how to apply it.
Okay. And what advice would you give someone who's just starting to explore their gifts?
Oh, don't doubt yourself. I think the biggest thing that I want to say young readers come into, and that's just meaning people who are just starting to open their gifts, what they come into is that self-doubt thing that you were talking about, Nancy. It's just this, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not as good at, and don't compare yourself to other people. We join these like psychic groups and then we're like, oh, well, they do like this and they have visions and I'm not as good as them. And those are the biggest things that I see as an issue with growing your gifts is self-comparison and self-doubt. So like, can you imagine where everyone would be if nobody compared themselves to other people and nobody doubted themselves?
They just said what they needed to say.
Exactly. Like everyone would just be floating off in space somewhere, all happy as can be.
Any daily habits or exercises you recommend?
I recommend sitting in love and or joy on a daily basis. We talked a bit about like the chanting and the altar work. Grounding is a big thing that comes to mind. But the reality is that each and every day, we don't always have time to sit at an altar. We're not always living in a place where we can take walks in nature. And so if there's one tiny thing that we can apply every single day, it'll be being able to come into the heart space for just a few moments, for just a minute. And that doesn't always for everybody look like a gratefulness exercise. It just feels like being able to drop into your heart and open that space to be in love, to be in a space of love, to be loving of yourself, to be loving of your body, to be loving of your home, just to be in love for a few minutes each day.
Mm-hmm. And how can someone find a trustworthy psychic or community to work with?
You have so many good questions. You act like you've been doing this a real long time or something.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I feel like people, according to their own vibrations, are naturally drawn towards certain psychics.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we need to use that discernment that you were talking about earlier, because sometimes those psychics, you're being drawn to them because they match your current wounds, that mirror and shadow. And sometimes you're being drawn to them because it's the higher power saying, this is the person who's going to help you. This is your teacher. Picking a teacher is so, so important because these are the people who your energy is connecting with. Like when you have a teacher or a psychic reader or a healer, you are opening yourself and letting your energy connect with theirs. So I think it's important maybe to find one that you research a little bit, feel them out, have a vibe with, someone that you feel connected to in some way, who you feel like they can help you, like they have your back, that they have your best interest at heart. Because some psychics and healers are out there being psychics and healers just because it makes them feel important, not because their intention and mission is to change the world, to have world peace, to bring healing. So I think sometimes the mission and understanding why they do what they do could be important.
Yeah. And I think, and understand, you'll run into people and you say, oh, they open my eyes and they teach you a lot. And then you go to get to a point where you go, oh, well, that doesn't work for me anymore. I mean, we outgrow them. And that's sometimes hard for people to say that I outgrew this, but
that kind of goes to the conversation we were having earlier too. It's okay when you've gotten what you need from that healer or that psychic to move to the next person. There doesn't have to be a big falling out about it. Just thank you for your time and your gifts and your wisdom. Move on to the person. And sometimes your guides will bring you to a psychic who doesn't do great things or who hurts you in some way.
And you learn a lot from those lessons. And that's the one person I trusted and they turned on, well, by my impression of life, they turned on me. But what I learned from them was to never, when people start to have me try to control their life, like, what should I do about this and that? And I'm like, no, because that's where I got to with this person. And I let them have that kind of control. I won't take that kind of control from people.
Absolutely. That is extremely important. That's an amazing thing to say. Yes. I mean, a couple of my clients had psychics before who were like that. Like they moved across the country, they moved to other countries, they cut entire families out of their lives based on the advice of a psychic. And yeah, maybe it set them on their path. But when you get to a place where you feel powerless to make your own decisions, or you look back and felt like you didn't have any power over the direction of your life and no free will, that you've given someone else way too much control. Absolutely.
Right. And it's easy to do when you're opening up to all this stuff, and it's like, what do I do with it? You know, and they seem to have an answer. I've since learned no one has all the answers, so I can't.
Well, I like that. I think everybody should just listen to Nancy Jean, and if your psychic says stuff like that, like I can't tell you what to do with your life or things like that, I think that's a green flag.
Yes, that's a green flag to run towards, as opposed to the red flags where you want to get out of the room. Okay. Yeah. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your psychic journey?
The biggest lesson I've learned in my psychic journey is to stand in my own power. That's another thing when people are beginning, is that they often want to cling to other people for support. And that's fine. You know, we want to have a support system. But when you're meant to do your own thing, like nobody else is going to share the exact same destiny vision as you, because you're an individual. And so when we have all these other people and we're like, okay, well, let's go do this thing together. And really, you know, it's your vision, but you just want the support of others. They're always going to end up falling away, leaving, or having a falling out. And then you end up feeling abandoned, turned on, rejected, betrayed, right? When in reality, none of those people were meant to do those things with you anyways, because it's your destiny, your vision, the thing you were given to do for yourself. So the biggest lesson is when you know there's something that you need to do, you kind of have to overcome your fear and do it yourself and be that person.
Yeah, we have a, I'm going to show a comment. I always learn people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Thank you, Christy. Absolutely. That's beautiful.
Anyway, so that's the end of the 20 questions, but tell us a little more about your center, Earth and Star.
Yes, Earth and Star Wellness. It's not just me, because we are a spiritual nonprofit. So we have an entire board, but I'm the teacher. So I'm the face that everyone gets to see out here. And I get a lot of the visions for what we are doing and how we're moving forward. And with Earth and Star, we have our spiritual teachings, we do healing sessions, and we offer wellness retreats. So every year we go, the past couple of years, or this year in 2026, we are doing our summer solstice retreats. So that's June 19th through 22nd. And we just have an amazing group of people come out. We still have 4 spots for that in next June also. People, we come out, we go through rites of passage. We do just amazing, powerful, transformative work together. And these are the peak moments, right? Where everyone's feeling elevated. Conferences that I speak at, those are peak moments. People leave feeling elevated. But then when you come back to your regular life, you might training. So we have shamanic training and Reiki training and different trainings like that we offer. We do mediumship training. But then you might also need healing sessions. So we offer our healing sessions, and then people just want the teachings, and the teachings like this on these platforms are completely free. So we just want to cater to the whole person and all of those needs in the low moments and in the peak moments, to help people really sit back in their bodies and understand that you are the soul in this body, and how to best navigate what you're here for, who you're meant to be, what you're meant to do. Align yourself with your God spark and your destiny. And that's really the whole thing, from origin point to origin point, because it's not linear, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Where are you located?
We're on the East Coast. So while I teach from South Carolina, Our retreats last year and next year are going to be in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there we might branch out and do something a little bit different.
Oh, good. Okay. And you used to have a brick and mortar, but now you don't.
I used to own the Rustic Raven, which was a brick and mortar crystal shop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy, Nancy Jane, that you asked me this, because I kept having visions for over a year of a raven literally falling out of the sky dying.
Mm-hmm.
It terrified me. But I realized what Spirit was asking me to do was to close the shop because it was taking up so much of my time.
Mm-hmm.
Use that time to facilitate wellness retreats, because that's what I personally was being asked to do. That's what Spirit was telling me people need right now. People need more peak moments. People need more support. People need to know what that feels like in that space. Whereas while it was a beautiful shop for the community,
it was stopping you from completing your mission.
And you can buy crystals anywhere. I was being asked to move into something that only I could create, versus this shop. And that was kind of a big thing because it was the only one in our community. So that was a really big decision for me to have to make. But when I closed, it was interesting because somebody said that there was a quote by Nanny McPhee, of all things. It's like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that movie, Nanny McPhee? I've never seen it, so I didn't know this quote. But they said, essentially, they were talking to me and they said, I understand that you feel bad right now about having to close this shop because it was the only space here. But when people need you but don't want you is when you're present. And when they don't need you but want you is when you'll have to go.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that deeply. Yeah.
Agreed.
We go where we're needed.
Okay, so what sort of services do you put out? Do you have?
So the healing services, I have recently coined the term keywork, KEYWORK, and it's actually an acronym, but it's a mixture of all things that make me me. Because I've realized in the healing sessions that while we're doing elements of regression, hypnotherapy, Reiki, quantum healing, we're doing soul retrieval, destiny retrieval, we're doing lineage clearing. While we're doing so many different things, the thing that we're really getting down to is that all of those are simply removing blockages.
Right.
Then we get to unlock the key code of our God spark. And then that's the big thing that everyone really wants to get to. So all of my sessions are called Key Work. I have 2-hour sessions, 1-hour sessions, or 30-minute coaching calls. But like I said, outside of that, we do have trainings, teachings, and retreat work. But then other people on the board, my vice pres, Erin, she's on there, and she does different kinds of energy work as well, such as Reiki work and shamanic work is also.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today and letting us know who you are, where you are, what you do, and sharing your thoughts on developing your psychic abilities. And thank you to everyone who showed up. We had all 40 of us. Yay! Hardy morning people. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.